I do that right? Okay.
Now recording.
All right, everyone ready?
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta pull up my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good to go.
Sesh, take it away when you desire.
Yeah, so the game we played the previous week was Leap Year. It was developed by Daniel Linson and published by the Sokopop Collective, released in June of 2024. It is a brief Metroidvania platformer with hand-drawn art, and the goal was to collect all of the months of February 2024. I picked this game primarily to see how Ben would respond to puzzle games because he doesn't seem like the biggest puzzle gamer there is. So this is kind of like an entry level style puzzle game that he wouldn't have to kill himself to get through, and also just to try to gauge the vibes there, and then also just to provide a little bit of to provide something shorter to kind of break up the longer games that we've been playing recently.
I very much appreciate that, for the record. It was very nice to just spend 2 hours playing a game on a Monday morning and then not have to think about it for the rest of the week.
Agreed.
For sure.
Yeah, and for the puzzle aspects, I actually did enjoy myself, but I don't know if that would be a deterring factor for me because, I mean, I'm just gonna Google it if I can't figure it out, so it's not a big deal to me.
But if I pick a game like Lingo 2, which you don't know what that is, but it's basically like a 25-hour long puzzle game, are you going to quit 3 hours in? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's got to be the way, like, there's so many factors, like the way it looks, the way it sounds. That's
Basically,
really it.
my idea would be to like ramp up. So next, if I pick another puzzle game, it'd be like a 4 to 7 hour kind of game, and then see like how did Ben respond with that kind of thing.
see where my breaking point is.
Exactly.
Okay, we could do that.
But I mean, I'm not picking a puzzle game for like at least like 2 months since we already know my next pick. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to play more puzzle games too, so I think we shouldn't be afraid to pick shit, IMO.
I have no shortness of puzzle games. It's just I don't want to put people through a 30-hour puzzle game, especially if they're not going to enjoy it.
Well, I think in terms of the puzzle gameplay experience, I am most curious of Ben's feelings on this game.
It was pretty fun, and I probably should have thought about this and wrote it down. Because I've got thoughts spinning around. I'm like, what order do I say this in? Could you restate your question or statement?
What did you think of the game?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I thought there was something more specific, or maybe it was about the puzzle elements.
Yeah, specifically about puzzles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I know that it is technically a puzzler, and it is literally any way you would slice it, define it, it's a puzzle game. But the fact that the way that you interacted with the game was through a traditional platformer, it felt more like tools that you just tried everywhere, kind of like a trial and maybe you aren't supposed to trial and error it, but you can. But that's how I felt about it, where it wasn't I need to really sit down and think about a logical solution. It's more I know that I've got 4 tricks, and in this room I can perform 2 of them, and I just want to see if it unlocks a new path. Basically, that's what I did.
Nice. I mean, I think this game's pretty different from a lot of puzzle games because no one really makes puzzle platformers at all anymore. So this game is kind of still that. There's very few puzzle platformers that come out every year. It's usually just a puzzle game or a Metroidvania.
I think this is...
Well, how do you differentiate a game like this from, and maybe you don't, but when you say that, my brain immediately thought of the game Animal Well, which I mean was very popular. Would you not consider that a puzzle platformer?
No, that's the other one, yeah.
What about Braid?
Yep, but Braid came out fucking 17 years ago. So Braid is the obviously the last one, or not the last one, but kind of that first breakout one from when they all died from the 90s to basically the modern era.
So
and they definitely still come out.
I think I lost something. You said that this game was the other one. What's the other one? I missed
Animal
that.
Well.
Yeah. Like you described it as the other one. What is the other one?
This one, and Animal Well. I'm not following.
Oh, I'm
Like
sorry.
in the past year.
Yeah, I'm fucking stupid. I misunderstood something.
Yeah.
I get
There
you.
might be more, and definitely like on the indier side, right? Because like usually these games are pretty small in scope.
For what it's worth, this is probably the first one I ever played in my entire life. Unless you count like gizmos and gadgets from when I was like 10 years old.
I probably count those, yeah. I mean, because that's when I think the puzzle platformers in like the early '90s was when like so many people were trying to make like that weird style of game, and then like it just died, and then it's kind of back. But people usually make Metroidvanias now instead because you can kind of mix in some puzzles ish.
Yeah, and it's probably just more marketable, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm trying to like figure out where the boundary is for what is considered like a puzzle platformer. Would like something like Talos Principle, could that be considered a puzzle platformer?
in the
I,
sense that it's a 3D
eh,
one, so yeah. But typically, when you
I,
say that, you think 2D.
Is
I
Portal?
don't. This is a weird delineation for me. I don't feel like Talos Principle is a platformer, but I feel like Portal is, because
Um,
I
Portal there's
didn't.
actual like platforming involved.
I
How
feel like
much dexterity?
there's some level of platforming involved in Talos Principle 2 at least. Like there's some like jumps and shit that you have to make. Granted, it's not like a huge focus and it's usually for like secondary or tertiary like objectives, but it is there.
I mean, if there's any kind of like movement based puzzles in it, I would consider that a puzzle platformer. If you're just moving from point like because Edith Finch isn't a puzzle platformer and like it's not even really a puzzle game, but like it's the closest to a puzzle game, but just like a puzzle game
It's
for
also
people like
not
a
a game.
two-piece jigsaw.
It's funny because we're talking about all these games, and this might be out of left field now that we're talking about it. But the strongest vibe of a game I got from Leap Year was Tunic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
Should I play that? It looks pretty cool.
I think Tunic's fucking fantastic.
I
I never beat it, but it's amazing.
I'm not
All right.
convinced it's a Ben game, but I could be wrong.
That's
The
also fair.
combat,
It looks nice though. Like and that does go very far with these. If it just at the bare minimum looks nice.
Yeah, it is
And
one
it
of like
does.
That's a very good aesthetic.
yeah, it's one of the better looking like isometric games for sure.
I think if anything bounces you off of it, it'll be the combat because it's kind of frustrating in points.
Well, I'll see.
I feel like we're kind of bouncing around all over the place right now, which is fine, I guess, if we want to talk about the genre as a whole. But like, do you guys want to talk specifically about the gameplay of Leap Year? Is it like too bare bones? Where do you guys want to go?
How do you guys feel about the controls?
There was hmm. I don't know if this goes under controls, but there was like certain puzzles or like certain platforming things you had to do. Like I remember one specifically where there was like a ledge. You had to go right off of the ledge and then immediately hold left so that you could like fall and get like the enough length, right? Or enough height to get like a bounce. But if you didn't hold left enough or fast enough, you would touch a ledge while falling and die instantly. Like shit like that was a little frustrating, but in general, I like the way that the character moved and all that. It was pretty consistent outside of that, like those weird cases.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if the game had too many like super precise jumps, it would be very frustrating because of the floatiness, but I think the combination of not having a lot of super precise jumps, like I can think of one, and I'm pretty sure it was me sequence breaking the game. I can think of one tough jump, and dying was not punishing. So those two things kind of worked in its favor as far as the controls go.
Yeah, I only remember one annoying quote unquote jump that where the controls kind of bugged me. It's where you like go. It's like early on, I think, into the like frost land, and you're moving through the wall, and you're like dodging the spikes, and you have to land at a specific spot. I think I don't know if you can do anything else there, but I remember like the awkward controls of moving through the walls was kind of noticeable there. But overall, I was like, even something like that, I was willing to like give to this game because I mean, it advertises itself as a clumsy platformer. And to answer the question in the first place, I was like totally fine with the controls. I had no issues with it. Like the actual platforming felt fine. There was one thing that I just disliked, and maybe this is more of a UI thing. I'm not sure, but like when I'm running around in platformers, I'm a chronic jumper. Like I'm just gonna tap my button, and it was very annoying
Ah,
to me in this game
Oh.
that just kills me.
I actually liked that. I thought that was like a really interesting and very purposeful like design decision. I mean, obviously, but I actually like that aspect of it.
Yeah, that aspect is immediately what made me think this originally was probably a game jam game. Because usually when you do a game jam game, like the easiest way to get like a creative result is just to introduce a limitation.
Well, I mean, that's like the
That
whole
makes
sock
sense.
pop thing, right? Like sock
Yeah,
pop's entire like business model is basically like make and release game jam games.
Yeah, and so
I
like
think
I'm not
that
even necessarily saying that as a bad side, but just for me personally, my experience kind of fucked with me a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think the controls are perfect. I think you move the perfect speed, and yeah, the level of responsiveness is like perfect for the amount of platforming and everything that the game requires of you.
Yeah, like I said, if there were a lot of extra precision jumps, it might have annoyed me, but not having them was perfect.
I
I also played the game on keyboard. I don't know if anyone else did.
I did not. I think that probably would have been better.
I think I was on gamepad.
Yeah, I played a controller, but I could do either one.
I don't know if this falls under controls,
I mean, we're
but
still
like there
counting
were
gameplay.
yeah, there were certain parts where like I didn't want to like override my save point, but then like I would accidentally walk over another flag, and that would be like a super frustrating thing for me.
Oh yeah, that happened to me a couple of times because like the hitbox is a little deceiving.
Yeah, I felt like that was occasionally annoying, and it never used that component in a way where it could be like a puzzle. It's like that could definitely be a thing where you specifically have to avoid a couple checkpoints, but they never
Yeah,
really play with that.
I think they kind of did with what is it? Day 23, I think. The one where you have to like jump off the top. You have to like squash the three guys below, and then you have to climb back up to where that flag is, and then you have to drop from there. Um, and I guess there wasn't a flag in between squashing the dudes and jumping back up. I can't remember.
There
I'm
was
trying
a
to remember.
flag above them to the right.
Yeah, I mean that's the one you use when you're like trying to get to 23 or what I think it's 23.
I know which one you're talking about, but yeah, I kind of expected more like more stuff like that and more puzzles related to the dudes. They never really used the dudes outside of that one instance.
Yeah, that was something I had in my notes as well. As I wish they had done more like actual puzzles with them, like similar to that one that we were just talking about.
I think that would make the game like a lot longer if you wanted to do things like that though, because I think that this game feels very like very much so you made a design doc and then stuck the fuck to it and didn't scope creep it at all. And something like that is when you would start to become exhaustive of all the mechanics that are in the game, and then you have to start adding clever things like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually wrote somewhere in one of the questions that like its really compact scope was like a big plus. So
How did you guys feel about the upside down section?
I think that was the best part of the game.
okay, I'm
Well,
gonna need
that's
some
very opposite my opinion.
I'm gonna need some clarification here because when I said I think I sequence broke something, I think that's probably what I sequence broke. Because is that the bottom section of the map?
No, it's the literal last day. So unless you got 29 first.
Okay, I mean, what I'm saying is, someone posted a screenshot of the map. I think it was Ben, and there's an entire section at the bottom of the map that I never interfaced with, uh, and I was wondering if that's where you're meant to do it upside down. Because the way that I did the upside down thing was kind of silly, and I don't think was intended.
Yeah, that whole section I did go down there, and I think you had to be upside down,
Yeah,
otherwise you just fall and die.
yeah, you. That's the goal of where you're getting to when you first go upside down.
Yeah, when I went upside down, I was like two screens away from the last day. So
Oh, that's funny.
What the fuck? Wow, you completely. Wow, that's wild. Actually,
I could yeah, there's a room where you have just enough vertical space. Like it was how I even figured out that there was like a yellow man to begin with because I had jumped off and it turns yellow for like a frame. And I found like a tiny little nook where you could go upside down and it was like right outside of where the last day was. So
Yeah,
long story short, I never saw what you guys are about to
that
talk about.
is. Yeah, that's
Well,
definitely sequence breaking.
yeah, I mean, you missed what I thought was like the best part of the game then. And
Yeah, because
apparently
Thomas,
what
like
Seth
if
thought was the worst part of the game.
because like what you missed, Thomas, was you know how a lot of the areas in the frost section felt like very strange, like there was a lot of empty space that you didn't use.
Yeah.
All of that is used during the upside down section.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
Um,
wondered too because there's that calendar in the very bottom right of the map where you have to go through the ice shit, and there's like very obviously a different area down there with a different song, and I kept waiting to go back there and I never did.
yeah, that's funny. There's a lot there. No, I don't know if I'm gonna say that it's the worst part, but because the design is clearly very, very good. Like it's very impressive that they designed the map in such a way where it was approachable and you have to go through it, and you know the fucking Castlevania style upside down and non upside down section. In terms of design, it's pretty immaculate. It's pretty good. It's a very good reveal, and the understanding what you have to do is pretty great. However, I did not enjoy the gameplay of it. A lot of the platforming in that section felt far clunkier than the rest of the game to me. Almost like what you were doing was unintended, even though it was pretty immaculately designed in terms of how you're going to move from point A to point B.
Ben. Ben died. Or sorry, he drowned.
No, sorry, I was just listening
No,
and I
you're
was
good.
trying to remember what the question was. Was it just like what I didn't like?
How do you feel about the upside down section? But I don't think that you.
Yeah, that's a good point because I didn't really play through all of it. I watched someone much better than me do it on YouTube, and it looked really cool. I'll say that it looked cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best part of the game because kind of like what Seth said with Symphony of the Night, like the coolest part of Symphony of the Night is that the game works upside down, but they have to cheat in that game because it's not truly the same thing upside down. It's upside down and then they move things so that it works upside down, so it's a separate map. This game is just it's the same map and it's designed symmetrically right side up and upside down, which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous when you think about it. Because like I didn't even really play through that entire section, but what little I did play, in addition to like the entirety of just like the base game, I felt really impressed by like how much thought went into like literally
Yep.
every single floor, every single wall, every single panel was placed for a very specific reason. And I thought that was like just insanely impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I say immaculate design, that's what I'm referring to for sure.
Yeah, the map was extremely well made. Like the degree of freedom that you get as soon as you spawn into the game, and like just it's like Outer Wilds in a way, right? Where like you can do whatever as soon as you spawn in. It's just literally figuring it out as you go, and the way that they kind of railroad you, like they railroad you without literally railroading you in a very smart way. Also, I posted a screenshot of how I did that
Yeah,
fucking jump
nice.
as I'm out.
That's sick.
Wow, that's crazy. I feel like I tried that jump a million times and I never got yellow there.
It took me a lot of tries to get it to work because it's actually extremely precise, and I figured it wasn't like the intended way to do it, but I wanted to do it anyway.
I don't think if I've ever found anything sequence breaky. If it was small. Because like with this game, it's kind of hard to tell what's intentional versus unintentional sometimes.
I think that's intentional. I don't think there's like a clear path. Like I think what Tom did might be unintentional, but if the guy said, "Yeah, I know that's there and I didn't fix it," I wouldn't be surprised. Because something like that
Yeah.
is just kind of cool, right? Because then if you get to figure it out, then you're like, "Holy shit, this is badass." Versus if it's fixed, then it's like it's not terrible, but it's still cool that it's there. I think.
Yeah, because like the last calendar entry is like 3 or 4 screens to the left there, and it's like a really trivial run.
Right. I also think like the onboarding for this game is really sick, specifically because one of the first pieces that you see is the screenshot that I just posted, which is basically like you think you can just get it, but then when you try to jump over to, you don't get it, and also it's labeled 16, so that feels like it's a little bit further away. It just
Yeah,
feels like a really
the
nice way to handle shit instead of being like, "Whoop! Did you know?"
yeah, that level of tutorialization I thought was very good. Like presenting simple things like that, but like Ben said, there's a limiter in place, and the number of the calendar days, at least early on, like everything up to I want to say like 18,
Yep.
had that in mind, and that was nice.
Yeah,
Exactly,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, because I think I definitely went like 1 through like 16 or 17 or something, and then I dropped down into the ice thing, and I was getting like 23 and 24, and I was like, huh?
That's hilarious.
I think Ben did the same thing because I remember his
Yeah,
screenshot.
yeah, exactly. I think when I first posted my milestone screenshot, I think you said that we
Yeah,
were basically in the same exact spot, and I think I got to like 16, and then suddenly it was like 25 through 28 or something like that.
yeah, because it really splits off from that point, and it's not like immediately obvious how you get to the next like set of them.
Did you guys find blue early?
Like I said, I found it after 16 or 17, I forget which.
I think that's early, but I don't remember. I was definitely trying to do some very weird jumps that clearly did not exist in the like early gear room, because I thought there was something to how it's like the very first screen where everything is gray and it's like you're in a factory, and I thought there was something to how you could from below jump up above the bridge that you can walk on and then fall back down. And I thought you and there's the like missing chunk of the ceiling where you can clip through and try to fall that way. I tried so hard to make that jump work, but it never worked.
I think I know the room, but I don't know exactly which section you're talking about.
I should have taken a screenshot.
I mean, I think
It's
that's
just
kind of like
because like I said, there's like a chunk missing from the ceiling that lets you slide to the left while keeping your momentum. So you like it looks intentional, but I don't think you can do anything with it.
yeah, I think that's kind of like a forgotten art with like the puzzle platformer style stuff, and like why Animal Well is pretty sick because there's kind of like stuff like that around where you're like, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm here now. Let's figure it out, kind of thing. Which I think is a very nice feeling.
Yeah, I think I definitely prefer that feeling to like the Metroidvania, like you're looking at a room, you're wondering if you can do it, but you're not sure, and you figure there's just absolutely no way you can do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a
It's not bad.
inherently Metroidvania thing. I think that's a we didn't design a sequence so you can't break it thing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of Metroidvanias now don't have sequences anymore like they used to, where like sequence breaking isn't a thing because it's designed to get in like whatever order that you basically can, which is lame, I think, because I think it's cool when there's a sequence and then you can step outside that sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like personally why I still think like Super Metroid is probably top 3, top 2, top 1. Just because of like the degree of sequencing it allows you to do.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I like La Milana a lot.
Yep, same thing.
Are there any other gameplay aspects you guys wanted to talk about?
What was the last calendar day you guys found other than the obvious one?
29.
Other than the obvious one.
I think it was like 20. I can't. Like
I think
23 or something.
I cannot remember. I know that it was 20 something, and that's about it.
I think mine was 23, the one that you had in your screenshot, at
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yeah,
That-
the 2023
Okay,
is fine.
it's so funny because that is the one now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was the same for
Wait,
everybody.
which one was your guys'?
23.
Oh no, it wasn't
It's
for
in
me.
Thomas's screenshot.
For me, it was either 16, 20, or 21, but I don't have further documentation than that.
I feel like if I had found the frost area sooner, one of the other ones definitely would have been last for me, I think. Like the heart one could have easily been last for me, I think.
Oh, one thing about that ice area, if I didn't YouTube someone like doing that thing where you have to like drill down into the floor, I would have never figured like it would have taken so
There's
long, so much trial and error for me to figure out where I was
I
supposed to
mean,
go.
for me, it like, tickled my brain that they just had like that one nook like carved
Yeah.
out there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I did look at that, and he to his credit, I think he drew like a little arrow there
Yep.
too, that shows that like that's where you're supposed to go. But like the problem with that sequence for me is that like you're panicking where you're on that exact screen. So I didn't really notice that arrow
Yeah.
until I watched it on YouTube. I was like, oh, there's an arrow there.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Where it's like you're supposed to just like look around and analyze and be like, "There's an arrow. That's weird. Is that just random shit, or is that indicating?" And but yeah, like you said with the panic, it's tough to notice that that's trying to lead you somewhere rather than just be like a swirly that's on the map.
Yeah.
There are a lot of random swirlies, like the
Exactly.
swirly in the picture that Thomas posted.
Exactly. There's just like a lot of like detail looking shit that looks like it's nothing, so it's easy to just like see it but not register that it's trying to tell you something.
Which I think is usually a good thing. Like, you know, when a game is just trying to hide information for you, it's a good way of doing it. And it's a good way to justify, adding a bunch of detail to your environment too.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing that I liked about this, as far as gameplay and design goes, is that I like that it's purely gameplay, like just 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably like the most tolerant of like drawn out yapping and exposition out of all of us, but like even I can appreciate like these micro games where like you're in right away and
Yep.
you're just interacting with the game mechanics immediately and it never stops.
Yeah, for sure. Like in my notes, I have like the rubric, and under narrative, I just wrote two words, which are "excuse me," and I mean I don't consider that a knock on the game at all. I think
I
they
wrote I wrote something much longer, but it basically says the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. I like it when like you just launch right into the game and your goal is like extremely obvious and things just kind of unfurl as you go and they don't bother like scoping anything out past that.
It goes for graphics. To move on to graphics, that is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let's see, what did I write down? I wrote down that I personally love that it's like I call it like a game jam style, like just something quick that you can do, like on a Wacom pad or something. And this exact type of style is what I like to point to because there's like a lot of game devs that can make art like this, and it's just like when people like I don't do this much anymore, but I used to like interact with a lot of like game dev communities like on Reddit and shit and Discord. And like when people complain about like how they can't like make good enough art, I'm just like I think if you tried enough, like not even hard, you can make this art, I think, in like
Yeah.
MS Paint. Like you really can.
I think yeah, people underestimate how if you just have like a really good understanding of like basically just color palettes, then you could make art like this very fucking easily. And getting an understanding of color palettes in 2025, you could just ask probably ChatGPT and it could probably give you a better answer
Yeah,
than you could
it'll
get in the
spit them out
80s.
for you.
Yeah.
And I think like similar to that, what I learned a lot from making some D&D maps is that like you can even see it in the most recent image that Sesh posted. If you just figure out how to do depth, then like look at how many layers are
Mm-hmm.
on that image. There's the shrubbery at the top in the very front, and then the wall behind it, and then there's shrubbery like between the next wall, and like there's so much depth to it, and it creates a very very like tactile environment.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
all
Yeah.
done with colors.
yeah, and like it, yeah, like Ben saying, it doesn't take a lot to do that. You just need to know
Mhm.
how to do it, and then you can do a lot with it.
I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
I will say though, like, while I do think that that's true, I think that like a lot of people hold themselves to a higher standard, I guess. Which, like, I mean, this game set out to do what it wanted to do, and I actually like the hand drawn style. But like, when someone's in fucking Unity coding away at their C sharp scripts or whatever, like, and they're making a game like this, they're picturing a game like Ori and the Blind Forest or some shit in their head. And obviously that sets, like I said, kind of an unrealistic standard.
Yeah, I mean, there is one game I could think of that's made by one guy that is like the full package, and it's Stardew Valley. And like other than that, you have to understand at some point that you're not like the jack of all trades that some people can be,
Yeah,
and you have to do shit like this.
everyone's deficient somewhere when they're trying to make a whole ass game.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I'm not like how do I say this? I'm just saying that like if you look at like programmer art games, I feel like even those people can do better than what they're doing. Like if you look
I
at like
agree.
the absolute worst trash games on Steam, like if you tried even a little bit hard, like if even if all you do for some of these games is like just change the font, like like it adds a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like using a not shitty font, I think is super fucking important, and having like buttons that don't look like complete shit and all of these like small things is really important. And I think with all the tools that are available to people, easier than it's ever been by quite a bit. So I think it's getting less and less excusable to have your game look like shitty fucking like mobile vector graphic nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, to that point specifically, there's a reason that like so many fonts are created and patented for specific companies.
Yeah. Like Arial. Like don't use Arial in your game because you end up paying royalties to some
Oh, that
fucking
was recent, right? Like
cunthead.
Oh,
really
that's
recent?
funny.
I
Yeah,
saw
I
it
read about
recently,
that.
yeah. Yeah, somebody
I
used
forgot
Arial
what
and
the
whoever owns
details
it
were,
fucking
but
sued
it
him.
was funny.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I actually do really agree with you, Ben, because like I've been trying to dig through the maybe like the first Unity project I ever had, which was that fucking uh, Pirate La Mulana that I was working on with Julian, where I actually oh nice, I found some, but I forget the name of the program, Pixel, like Piksel or whatever. Um, like as much as I rant and rave about how much I have no fucking idea how to draw or anything, like when Julian and I were making that, I actually like surprised myself with some of the fucking sprites I drew because like I made like animations and shit and like they didn't look horrible, like given my talent level. So even though I was kind of rallying against you by saying people just say that shit when they have an unrealistic standard, I do think it's true that like uh, I think that when people say that like art is getting in the way of them making their game or whatever, it's honestly just them not wanting to try and learn it. It's
Yeah,
definitely the
exactly.
case with me anyway.
Exactly. You can make serviceable art that looks good if you just understand colors. Like that point I was making earlier, like colors can do 80% of the work. And if not, you can also do black and white. There's a bunch of like the find a picture games and shit that people make that have like cool twists that are all like black and white shitty looking things, but they don't look that bad because like they like learned line work a little bit, so it looks fine.
Yeah, and to tie it a little bit back to Leap Year itself, like when I call it game jam style, I think like this style is generally what you like when I did game jams at IUPUI, like there were just Wacom pads or Cintiqs everywhere, and like this is the type of art that I would have liked to have seen, but no one would ever do.
I mean, it's simple and elegant, right? Like it's MS Paint style shit, right? Like you can do all this in MS Paint very easily,
Yeah,
but it's not NGU Idle MS Paint style where it's not just like trying to look shitty and funny. It's like trying to look like stylistic.
yeah, it's got a vibe for sure.
Yeah, like every area, even though it's not like knock your socks off insanely good looking or whatever, but each area had a very clear theme to what it
Yep.
was. It was portrayed well.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think it used to kind of segue into music. I think it used like music well too, because like it's not a crazy like complex. Like I don't even know how many songs there are, like four. Not a
Sounds
crazy
right.
complex four songs, but it's still like good enough where it's like, oh, this is pleasant to listen to and something to do while I'm trying to figure out where I'm going.
There was definitely one that played a lot, probably in some area I was stuck in. It was definitely a brainworm song for sure. I don't
I,
remember it now, but I know that at the time I remembered it.
I did have a distinct feeling at one point that there was like one or two more songs that they needed in there for certain scene transitions, but other than that, I thought the music was perfect.
yeah.
I mean, the music was fine for what it was. I think it set the mood right. I really hated how cheap the instruments sounded. That was like the one thing I would have changed. Like compositionally, it was fine. I just thought the actual like VSTs that they used sounded kind of eh.
I don't mind that goofy style. I like RuneScape music and Tactical Nexus music and all that shit, and that uses like the worst style instruments imaginable. So I'm fine with those kind of things.
Give me that Mario Paint music.
I mean, that's just good. That's
I
not.
mean, Mario Paint's
That's
just
not
fucking
bad.
goaded.
Yeah, that's just really good. That's just old. You guys have anything on the UI or lack thereof?
There's not
Uh,
much to speak
I,
on.
I liked what was there.
Yeah.
It matched. I like that it matched the rest of the art style. Like it wasn't like a UI that is out of place. Where if it was like vectorized or something, verse on top of the hand drawn art,
Hmm.
it'd be kind of weird. Or if it was like a, not that anyone would do this, but if it looked like a real like ornamental, like a, obviously just wouldn't fit at all. So I just like that it's just the exact same style. It's just
Yeah.
thick lines and just one, two colors maximum.
I
I mean,
thought it was. Sorry, Red.
I was just gonna say, I think that's kind of what the whole game did really well. Is like it just kind of has a very consistent package across literally everything in the game, including like the very minimal narrative that there is there. Even
In terms of the UI, there was only one thing that like stood out to me as being kind of weird, and it's the only thing where there was actually a UI. So maybe I just didn't like the UI, and that was when you pause, it takes you to the main menu immediately. It's very weird. It's not a
oh
problem
right,
because you can just hit continue and it starts you from where you were. I think. I don't think it takes you to a
yeah,
checkpoint. I just thought that was very odd.
it is a little odd.
Yeah, as far as UI goes, no notes.
Same. Yeah, everything that I wrote in this section was just about the game in general.
Jordan, is there anything you want to do on the narrative section, or you just wanted to go straight to your
um,
questions?
so like narrative wise, obviously this game like doesn't have anything, but to kind of give an example of a game that could be like this and is pretty bite-sized but could still have like a quick narrative but it sets up everything like perfectly, it's a game that we're never going to play because I already talked about it, which is Ambidextro. So that game, just to do a little recap on it, it's basically you're so the game starts and it's like a 45-second cutscene, and it's basically you're a wizard and there is a queen who their daughter and son got kidnapped and brought to two different places, and so the queen cuts the wizard in half and then sends him down to a dungeon so that he has to get out of the dungeon to prove that he can successfully go and rescue both halves at the same time because she doesn't want to like wait. And then that's it. That's like the whole story, which I think this game could potentially benefit from just something simple like that, like have a reason to reassemble the calendar and show it to me in less than 30 seconds. So I think that that's kind of slightly disappointing, but it's also fine.
I
I
think I
agree.
agree. I have a game in my library that I played a bit called Shotgun King: The Final Checkmate that does something
Yeah.
similar, where it's just it's just a roguelike where you're playing chess, but it has like 7 slides at the start of the game about how the Black King was usurped and he has to go kill the White Queen or whatever. And this game definitely could have done something like that, where it's just like, yeah, we got clumsy Jim over
Yeah.
here, and his birthday's on a leap year, and he doesn't like it, so we started, some shit like that.
Or like
One
Father
thing I
Time
will,
or something.
one thing I will say to defend the dev, as someone that's been in his position many times, like I'm so discouraged from like doing anything narrative based because like I've seen like if I were to add narrative to this game, I'd really try hard not to have anything that's written, like no dialogue, nothing.
Oh yeah,
Just something that's like that can just be told like visually, like with the murals maybe. That's where like I'd put the story, I guess.
you could do something like that. You could literally just have the beginning of like some dude with a beard and an hourglass behind him, and then like his wife trips and headbutts a calendar, and all the pieces go flying, and then you start the game.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Oh
it's just
yeah.
something
Something
like
real, yeah,
Banjo
some real
Kazooie
simple.
style or
yeah.
whatever.
That's because like that's why I think Ambidextro is like this game design wise, but like literally perfect, but obviously like extremely fucking hard. So
I
yeah.
invented a headcanon for the narrative in this game as soon as Ben said he said something about it related to feeling like a game jam game or something, and in my mind I just imagined this guy making this game the entire time for some like month-long game jam, and at the very end he was like, what the fuck should these things that you're collecting be? And it's like February 27th and he has to submit the thing, and he just replaced all the sprites with calendar sheets.
For me, like if you were to put it into the game jam environment, I feel like it's probably just like way simpler than that because like each game jam has a theme, and the theme was probably leap.
Yeah. Or
Or like
leap year.
February, yeah. Because I mean, to kind of like touch on that, I don't think like him, the main character, like getting damaged from jumping really has anything to do with like calendar or anything. It's just kind of it's like two ideas merged together, which is like, what if Mario has bad knees, and then just like, what if you collect calendar days and leap?
And then also if you reach terminal velocity,
Yeah,
question mark.
yeah, exactly. So
But yeah,
I think
I 100% agree that like even if there is like some like barely noticeable like hook tacked onto it, it would have served it a lot better, even
yeah,
if it was just like almost nothing.
yep. And yeah, I don't like I'm not like this game needs something like that, but I think like the reason why I think Ambidextro is like so good is because it also has something like that as well, because it's simple and it's like perfect. Like it's just it could add to the tight design of the game where it doesn't need to be you don't have to constantly tell dialogue, and every time you pick something up it doesn't need to play like a Zelda animation or anything. It could be basically the same game, but just give me a little reason to be doing this.
Yeah, and I guess another way for me to think about it here specifically is that the fact that it has absolutely zero narrative is
Right.
fine because I don't knock it, which is better than it having something terrible.
That is
True. I mean,
true.
if it was constantly like interrupting me for like I don't know some same
Yeah,
sprite as you,
terrible
but a bow on
dialogue.
your head that would show up and be like, ha ha ha, I got this first or something, it would be awful. So yeah,
Yeah, or like if the fucking people like talked to you and opened
yeah,
up
exactly.
dialogue boxes and shit.
Yeah, like I definitely agree. Like I can't knock the game for not choosing to like do those things when it works perfectly well and it fits with what they were going for. But there are just so many moments where I feel like even just the tiniest bit of narratives would have been really cool. Like the intent, like the first fall where you find yellow and moving down to the underground area, and it's got that good song, and it's like way more vacant than everywhere else. Like there could have been some cool stuff there,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, I agree. There could have been more environmental, like subtle environmental storytelling for sure.
yeah. I think like don't knock it, but it underperformed is kind of like I think the fair way to treat it.
I mean, underperforming would be knocking it. It put on no
Yeah.
performance.
So,
But
but it
I mean
it
that's the thing that like separates like the 8 out of 10 from the 10 out of 10 games, though,
yeah.
right? So
yeah, like for me when I'm doing my ratings, I pretty much always start at a 5 out of 10, and then it goes up or down a point, uh, like depending on if it impressed me or not. And so if it just didn't have a narrative to impress or disappoint, then it's just not going to move in either direction. But that also
yeah,
caps how high it can go.
yeah,
Exactly.
agreed.
I think yeah, capping how high it can go is kind of like basically what I think of where like you don't get points because if you add something cool, you could easily get like a point or two, and even if it's like super simple, because you're like, oh, that's clever, but if it's not there, then you can't get that point or two via that.
I'm gonna be real. I pretty much make up my rating just as a vibe.
I kind of do too,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it,
I'm not like a scientist holding beakers and mixing them together to get my score.
I
That's just like in my head how I'm measuring it.
I
yeah, and
can't stand that.
honestly, I probably like if you if you asked me what I rated Final Fantasy 16, I don't even remember. So that's how much the ratings really matter to me anyway.
I could tell you I'm relatively consistent because if I like, because I make notes for basically every game I've played for like the past 3.5 years now, and like whenever I think about to myself, like what did I think of that game, and then I go back and look, I'm always within half a point. So like my arbitrary scale in my head is consistent with myself, and also I think that people who make it so that like you get 2 points for music, 2 points for narrative, blah blah blah, is like the worst fucking scale of all time.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think overall, like uh, Ben's method of just rating
Yeah.
based on vibes. I mean, I think that's what everyone does. I think that's
Yeah.
just the right way to do it.
The problem with me is that my vibe is very polarizing. Where like I
I think
love
that's
it
fine.
until I like cast it into hell.
I think that's fine.
I feel like the only thing to consider, and I'm not like trying to tell you how to think, just like this is what I think if I was purely going off of vibes, is like when I play a game, like when I played Final Fantasy 16, for example, my experience in the moment of playing that game was not very good, but my memory of my experience of that game was very good, if that makes sense. Like I remember the big stuff, the really cool stuff, but actually playing it was not fun to me. And if I'm only going off vibes, then that's different than like how I might
Yeah, that's a
evaluate
fair
the
point.
memories of
Yeah.
those experiences.
I mean, that's basically how I treat Void Stranger, where like Void Stranger had some really like tedious and annoying moments of it, where like when I finished it, it was at like an 8.5, but when I thought about it like a month later, I was like, oh, this game's just like a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. So
Yeah. And it's like kind of how I felt about Outer Wilds too. Like I didn't love that game for a while.
Right.
It only was once I got through the ending where I was like, oh, this game's a masterpiece. There's
Yeah.
a lot. There's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
tedium before then. Oh my god.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of games just need to sit in the oven and be reflected on. I mean, I think that's true of all art, really.
Some games just kind of do it. Like Clair Obscura, it's
Oh
not like I
yeah.
thought it was like a 7 and then it went up. It was just like, oh, they did it.
No, I'm calling you out on that shit. You did not like that game at first.
But I'm not saying no. But what I'm saying with Void Stranger was when I beat Void Stranger, it was an 8.5. When I thought about Void Stranger after it was done
Oh,
for like a
okay, yeah,
month,
yeah,
it
yeah.
went up to a 10. I'm not saying like the beginning from jump it was a 10. I'm
Yeah,
saying
for
my
sure.
opinion, without having played it more, went up.
Yeah,
Where Clair
yeah,
Obscura, by the end of the game, it was just a 10, right? I didn't need to think about it anymore of like,
yeah, no doubt. I
is
think
it
that
better?
like those games are few and far between, but like they definitely exist. Like Clair Obscure was definitely one for me. La Mulana was definitely one for me. Where like even though that game was constantly pissing me off and I was running around for hours at a time not knowing what the fuck I was doing, the game was so fucking good that I didn't even like it wasn't even detracting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but there are definitely other games. Nothing is immediately jumping to mind right now. Honestly, for me, I kind of do the opposite, where the further I get away from a game, or like the longer it's been since I've played a game, the more I actually end up disliking it as opposed to liking it, which probably says a lot about me.
That's funny.
Because
Wait,
like
you said the
Final,
more you play the game?
or the further I get away from it, having not played it, like the peak example I can think of while I'm sitting here thinking about it is Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played those games in over 10 years, and I still consider those games extremely fucking overrated because my opinion of them has just been slowly declining the further I've gotten away from playing them.
Is that because you hear other people's opinions about how good they are, and every time you hear it, it just compounds how much you don't like it, and so it
I
just
don't.
becomes like a snowball?
I wonder if that's a part of it, but like it's not like I'm in the Zelda community. It's not like I'm watching video
Sure.
essays about Ocarina of Time.
But just
It's
like every
just
6 months, when you see somebody say like Ocarina of Time is the best 3D Zelda, you're like, oh, this fucking point again. And then like every
I
time that you're exposed to that, it just keeps compounding.
I do think that is a component of it. Yeah,
I mean,
like I can give a real quick example. I was deep in my YouTube algorithm today, and I saw a video that was the worst dungeon from every Zelda game. So naturally, I clicked it, and I just skipped forward to Ocarina of Time because I was like, "What? I just want to watch this one and see what he says." And the first thing out of his mouth was like, "Many people consider this the greatest Zelda game of all time." And I was like, "You fucking asshole."
Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, I thought he's gonna say something different.
I feel like they're like I understand where you're coming from with that because I'm gonna draw a comparison to Elden Ring. I feel like there's a little bit of like Seinfeld isn't funny with that, and it's not exactly what you think when I mean that. I just mean like when I played Elden Ring for the first time, like the first time that you step out and you see the Erd Tree, it's like, oh my fucking god, this game is fucking beautiful. But then you play the game for a long time and it's kind of just there, and yeah, it still looks pretty, but it's not going to hit you with that same level of wonder. And I feel like that's true for a lot of those older games too, where like that experience of being in the first like 3D RPG, 3D puzzle adventure game, like that feeling is just going to diminish over time, no matter what.
Yeah, no doubt. And I agree with that because, and this is like one of the things that made me bring it up is because I fucking loved Final Fantasy VII and Ocarina of Time when I was a kid. Like, I remember going over to someone's house to like babysit or something when I was like 12 or 13, or I was like watching their cats or some shit. It was a friend from our church. And the guy had Ocarina of Time in his N64, and he was like, "Yeah, I just bought it. I haven't figured it out yet." And I was so proud of myself because I was like, "You want to see how fast I can beat the first dungeon?" And I just fucking booted it up and beat the Deku tree as like a little 12-year-old trying
That's
to impress
badass.
this guy. So like I loved those games when I was younger. But for me, here's where the Seinfeld isn't funny comparison kind of falls short for me is because for me the thing is that the further I get away from Ocarina of Time, it is also the further I get away from Majora's Mask. And to me, Majora's Mask was just the perfected version of Ocarina of Time. Where Ocarina of Time was almost like a very long, very involved like tech demo to an extent, but what they really ironed out was in the next game. And the reason why I say that the Seinfeld isn't funny thing doesn't hold is because like I think about it this way, right? Like nobody gives a shit about the game Pitfall, right? Everybody remembers Super Mario Brothers. No one gives a fuck about the very, very first game that did what Super Mario Brothers did. They just gave a shit about the first one that did it really well.
That's because Pitfall sucked, but keep going.
That's the point I'm making though. That's
Oh,
literally
okay.
that's literally what I'm saying. Pitfall
Well, yeah.
fucking sucked, even though it was like the first to do it, and then Super Mario Brothers comes along and it's like this global sensation. So it's just the reason why I think my opinion of those games diminishes over time is because like the things that came after did it so much better. And like immediately after, not like 20 years later after.
Yeah, I mean, Impact is always a funny one to talk about when like you talk about greatest games of all time because a lot of people skew like Impact, right? Because like the greatest games of all time are probably close to the games that were made now for obvious reasons because they like learn you have basically the library of knowledge that everybody before you had and also are now. So, but then you could just compare like yeah, because Pitfall was never a good game in any era, and like Mario Bros probably doesn't hold up now. That game's not great, but like Mario 3 and Mario World, like those are still people still make ROM hacks for Mario Worlds, like and crazy and involved shit. So like good design I think trumps all, at least for people who appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but again though, like that's kind of the thing that I was trying to say, which is that like even though yeah, I agree Super Mario Brothers probably doesn't like hold up as well now, it's still a game that I feel like commands a shit ton of respect just for what it did. Whereas Pitfall did it before Super Mario Brothers did, but it was so shitty no one cares.
Yeah, that game only had any modicum of success because of how early it was, rather than have any like reasonable design to it. It's like,
And that is the crux of how I feel about Ocarina of Time.
I mean, Ocarina of Time is not nearly as bad as like Pitfall is to Mario Brothers.
No, no, no. That is trying to say that would just be me being fucking
Yeah.
the whatever the word is, contrarian. I just think I think that it's an 8.5 out of 10, not the 10 out of 10 that everyone else wants to like slobber over.
I think it's lower than that, but I also don't like
I agree.
every 3D Zelda except Majora's Mask and Wind Waker.
Anyway, I
Like
got us off
Ocarina
on
of
a
Time
huge tangent.
is going to be more tangency if I start talking about it, so just move on, I guess.
I mean, the whole point of me picking this game was kind of to compare it to other games, though, because basically the whole ending segment of this game was made me be like, man, Symphony of Night was fucking sick.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this game definitely had me thinking about a lot of other Metroidvanias while we were
Yeah.
playing it because just because of like so something I think I had in my notes somewhere was like if I finish a game and all I can think about is how I wanted more of that game, then it did its job extremely fucking well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's how
I
I
agree. I
felt like
was
this game was.
yeah, my initial feelings when I finished this game was like it's basically perfect for what it is. I just wish there was more of it.
Oh no, I thought it was the perfect length, and I don't know if I would have liked it if it was longer. But that I think that speaks more to me than the game.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
if it was longer, you would have to make fewer concessions on the other stuff, right? So
Yeah,
I don't mean like considerably longer, but just like another like hour or so, maybe.
And like when I say more, I don't necessarily mean like extend the game. I just mean like, more like I said, there was like a song or two missing for scene transitions, that kind of thing, where there's just like a puzzle missing here or there that I feel like it needed along those lines is what I mean.
yeah, I mean, a big thing with this game was like the March DLC might like be basically everything that we're talking about. Like, I don't know if there's any narrative in it. I know it's longer and I know it's harder. That's all I know. I know it's about 4 hours long, and I know that it's like it does more than the base game does, but I don't know anything past that. So
Yeah, I actually did mean to go back and play it, but I didn't want to do that before we talked about it.
yeah, I didn't
Oh,
want to
oh, that's
include
already
it.
out.
Oh yeah, it came out in February of this year, like basically like almost the 1 year anniversary when it was out. But I didn't want to include that in this because then it becomes like a 7 hour game, which kind of defeated my purpose of having a short
Yeah,
game.
yeah, no doubt.
Maybe we'll go back and play this.
All right, well, you guys want to jump into the questions then? You have anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm all set here. Ben
Would
is
you like me to
dead.
present the questions?
Yeah, go for it. Your choice.
Okay. Number one, are the power ups, air quotes power ups, that are gated by knowledge and level design interesting compared to a more Metroidvania style approach where it's gated by items?
I think the
Ben.
section, yeah, there you go.
Ben drowned again.
Ben is
wait,
dead.
sorry. I was just reading over what I wrote down. And I'm trying to like parse what I wrote down.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah, I was just I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just gonna say I think this section flows a lot better if like the person whose questions they are just calls on people, which you
Yeah, yeah,
did,
yeah.
so I didn't even need to say shit. But I wrote down quite a lot about this question actually. So I actually love games that do this because a lot of games that I would consider all timers or at the very least like upper echelon games can fall into this category. Like Outer Wilds, Return of the Obra Dinn, The Witness, which is definitely a tier below the other two, but like they all incorporate some degree of that feature. And like in reflecting on it after you pose this question, it's because I realized that a major thing that I value in games is maximizing player agency. And I think that games that knowledge gate things do it the absolute best when a player has freedom of movement and like your experimentation and solutions actually feel like you're truly discovering something, and you're rewarded for that like curiosity or like the deductive reasoning or attention, that increases your like sense of ownership over the whole process. So like an example of that, like Outer Wilds lets you go anywhere. Like literally, your only limitation in that game is your own ignorance. Like the game feeds you those solutions time and time again, and you slowly put two and two together. And every time you do that, it gives you a real serious like sense of accomplishment. The way that this game did it was incorporating some of those diegetic instances that tell you what's going on, and even stumbling on some of them, like I did, like completely unintentionally. But it led to new possibilities with the exploration or the discovery. And so, like, basically, in those cases, agency and knowledge gating are symbiotic. And that's when it works the best because you feel like empowered because you're trusted to think on your own. And that is like a very, very important thing. When I'm playing a game, when I'm reading a book, when I'm watching a movie, like I don't want things to be spelled out to me. I want the person who created it to like put some trust in me to like interpret or figure things out. So I went on like a big long rant after this about like the ways that games do this poorly, which I'm just going to gloss over. But um, I would say that probably the only complaint I have about knowledge gated games is when um, there's like a huge design gap that leads you to trying to figure out arbitrary or obscure things. And like even a game I fucking love to death, like La Mulana, kind of falls into this trap sometimes. But really, the only major pitfall of these games is that it leads to an extreme lack of replayability. Like, you'll never be able to replay Outer Wilds or Oberdin or La Mulana the same way that you did the very first time because you can't, like, fucking Men in Black memory wipe yourself, right? So that is like when my most major criticism of um, what that style or what that approach leads to is the fact that I can't do it again is probably an indication that it's a very strong way of designing something.
Yeah, to that point, you said something about oh my God, why did my brain just forget it? It was like integral to my entire thought that I wanted to express. Oh my God.
Would you like a second, Ben?
Yeah, you can go on. Oh
Okay.
my God.
Um, so to expand on Tom's response, La Mulana is a special
Oh, that's
case.
what. Oh my God,
Go
I just
ahead.
remembered. So, when you were talking, it kind of goes back to like a meta discussion about what you brought up, Sesh, where you were talking about like what my breaking point for a puzzle game would be, and I think these comparisons are where that breaking point would be because I think about like a knowledge versus Metroidvania design, where in this game not only was it short, but the map was compact. So the way it was designed by being knowledge gated, I knew with full confidence that I could handle whatever the solution is because it exists and I can do it. I had the capability because there's no gatekeeping mechanic, right? So I felt way less bad about backtracking in this game. I actually enjoyed it because that was like the whole game. I didn't necessarily know where I needed to go, but I would just go because I know that eventually I'd find some place where I got stuck, and with this new knowledge I have, this new power up that I learned about that I've technically always had, I just didn't know about it. I could probably figure it out. Whereas like in Metroidvanias, it's so gated in such that like in the newer ones they started like color coding it where like you can open up the map
Yep.
and it shows like what power up you need. So like if you talk about like paint by numbers, like lack of thinking that Thomas was talking about, like literally not tickling your brain, this stuff like that. And I think that's something that's really unique to this style of game. But going back to my other point, which was actually a tangent, the breaking point for someone like me is La Mulana, where it's like it's that Metroid Brainia that's really like this, but the map is 10,000 times bigger and it takes like 100 more hours to beat.
More than that.
Yeah, so like I think I mean that's totally fair because La Mulana is obviously like massive in scope, and anyone who tells me that they bounce off of that game because of like nearly any reason, like I think the only thing that would make me go, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" if is you said that you bounce off of La Mulana because you didn't like the music or some shit, and I would call you
Yeah.
a fucking heathen.
Or
But
like graphics, yeah.
yeah, like that's what I was saying is like a big negative though. Like if a game doesn't offer you any like meaningful tools to learn or discover the solution, which La Mulana does, it's just that it obfuscates it so fucking hard behind a bunch of layers of bullshit sometimes. And like the actual example that I used in my notes was that puzzle in Hobbs Barrow, like where you have to give the kid the rotten
Yep.
worm to distract the vendor. Like that was the first example that popped into my mind of a way that a game did a puzzle like what was in my head when I was writing this that is just terrible, that is not hinted at, that's not prompted, that there's no indication that or foreshadowing of what you need to do there. It's just like some arbitrary thing that the
Yeah.
game requires you to do.
Yeah, I mean that's classic point and click adventure game, Sierra game nonsense.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I mean that's why those games are like puzzle games, but the puzzle is like, can you deal with the tedium to beat the game? But I think to kind of highlight Ben's point, I think that that's a beautiful point of this game because you know it's so small, no task is too daunting. But if I tell you Lingo 2 is a like word-based 27-hour playthrough, you are probably going to bounce off any level of difficulty, like immediate to a flush, because it's like there's 25 more hours of this. Where in this game, it's like at worst I'm 2 hours away, which is like less than a fucking movie, so I can work my way through it. So I think that's a really, really, really good point.
Yeah, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
To go back to Tom's point, La Mulana has a very La Mulana is different than the other examples of Oberdin and Outer Wilds, and even like Void Stranger and Tunic, and kind of like all the basic Metroidvanias, in that like because it's also built with a foundation of like a fun game to navigate in, and the sequence isn't always the same, that they found a way to make that game replayable, even though the second playthrough isn't going to be the same as the first. It's still an enjoyable game.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it is definitely separate from the other games in the sense that it is
Yeah.
gated by items, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I was just using it as a point of like when
Yeah.
games do it poorly, but yeah, I mean, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours in La Mulana, and that's not one playthrough. It's
Yeah.
like a dozen.
Yeah, like I don't even know if I consider La Mulana a Metroidvania. I don't think I do. It's a puzzle game, but I don't think it's a Metroidvania.
What's the difference? I have no idea.
So Metroidvania is typically games that are truly gated by knowledge that lets you beat them. So like Oberdin, you could beat that game in probably like, I don't know, 10, I don't know, the speed run's probably really fucking fast, because all you need to do is like interact with all the cutscenes and get all the parts of the book, and then just put all the information in, you're done. Same with Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds, you can literally just go to the end of the game at the beginning, and you're done. Same with Void Stranger. You could skip fucking so much of that game if you just know how to beat the game. But La Mulana, you still have to beat 8 bosses. Like, you can't skip anything. It's just a matter of what was the way that you got there. So it's more of just like a heavy puzzle game, where Metroidvanias are basically you're knowledge gated from the end, not progress gated, if that makes sense.
It sounds like Metroidvanias are immersive sims.
Oh, Jesus. Um, I don't know. We could go off on a huge tangent about this. I'm just gonna say I don't I don't necessarily agree with that, because a lot of the games that you listed like still do have hard checks or hard gates, other than Outer
Which
Wilds,
ones?
really. Oberdin, I mean, you said you have to do X
Yeah.
before you can do Y, right? Like you have to interact with all of the things before you can actually beat the game. You can't just open the book and click, 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 click.
Yeah, I mean, it's closer to not being a Metroidvania because of that, I would say. Specifically that one.
Whereas like Outer Wilds, yeah, 100%. Like you just hop in the ship, go to the
Mhm.
fucking end of the game, and you're done.
I mean, same with Tunic, for reasons we're not going to expand upon, because I want to see if Ben actually beats that game. Same thing with Void Stranger. Void Stranger, I mean, you haven't beaten that game, but Void Stranger, you can get to the end very fast, but it takes you really long to understand how to get there.
I attempted Void Stranger. I'll say that much. And
I would
it's a
never
cool
tell you.
game. It's a cool game. And that's all I'll say about it. It's a
I will-
cool game.
I would never recommend you to play
I
Void Stranger ever in a million
Yeah.
years.
have a
Dude,
strong
Void
suspicion
Stranger.
that Ben's experience of Void Stranger would be much better if he started with all the power ups.
I can't remember if I told you what my Void Stranger experience was, Ben, but I have a probably like 500 megabyte spreadsheet of that game, because like I took the most meticulous notes and screenshots and shit that you will ever see in any game ever, and I was like plowing through it. Um, to the point to where like I was pretty sure what I needed to do almost everywhere. And then one day I came home from work and I sat down, and the thought of clicking play on Void Stranger filled me with the like most deep uh and absolutely existential fucking anxiety and dread that I think I've ever felt in my life. Like I just instantly had like a pit in my stomach because I had spent so much fucking time thinking about and playing that game over like a 4 day period that my brain, I think, just like was like, stop. Like you have to stop. Uh, but that game fucking owns in spite of that. But I don't think I'll ever be able to finish because my brain put like protections in place to be like, you've got to stop doing this.
Yeah, I completely understand why people wouldn't play Voice Changer, because I mean it's built on Sokopop, and Sokopop is like probably one of the most unapproachable genres in gaming as a generalization.
That's a huge problem for me because I don't know what Sokoban is, so maybe that's why I bounced off
But
Void Stranger.
It's just push boxes basically.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
okay.
like Chip's Challenge is the first Sokopon game ever made. Adventures
Gotcha.
of Lolo is a
I've never
Sokopon,
played
shit like that.
I'm over here loving Void Stranger because
Baba
of the
Is You.
Sokobon. That's why I
Yeah.
loved it.
If you know Baba Is You, that's a Sokopon game, even though it's a weird one.
I've heard of it, but I've never played it. I've heard it's really good though. It's like the one where you like combine words or something like that.
Yeah.
yeah, that game's awesome.
But if you like Baba Is You, that doesn't mean you like Sokopon, because it's different.
Ah,
Sokopon
gotcha.
is like fucking hard bullshit puzzle games is basically what that genre prides itself on.
Yeah, Baba Is You is actually a game that entered into my mind when I was answering this question.
I have a follow-up question for Tom. Why is Breath of the Wild player agency not good? Or not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom?
I was actually
Because
considering asking this because as you guys were describing Metroidvanias, I was like, sounds a lot like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
because it gets in its own way all of the fucking time. Because, well, like, you gotta remember, in the beginning I was enjoying that game a lot, but it constantly got in its own way, and the big, like, the point where I wanted to jump off a cliff was when I went to the Wind Temple and was not rewarded, right? That's not respecting my agency. That is like fucking spitting in its face.
That's true. Part
So
specifically is very true.
so
Yeah.
there's just a lot of like there was just a lot of tedium in the way of like me enjoying that game that undermined the immense amount of agency that it does present. And not only that, but you got to remember the second part of what I like, which is when games don't spell shit out for me. And that game like goes through painstaking lengths to spell a lot of shit out for you that I didn't really need.
I guess the way I feel about it is like there's like the fact that it's got so much more complexity than Leap Year, right? When we're talking about tiers, is I feel like that's the way the instrument of which it gets in its own way with the tedium. Is because like in Leap Year, you move and you jump, and half the time you can't jump, so you just move. And then in Tears of the Kingdom, you have to move, jump. You open up the menu to craft. You open up the menu to like switch your weapon, and like there's just so many more things that you have to care about. Where like in here, like 100% of your brain power is just focused on the experimentation of your one ability, which is jumping.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like a similar like reason why it works in a game like La Mulana, right? Where for the very like first long part of when you're playing that game, like you don't really do much other than run, jump, and occasionally like hit things with a whip. Um, so it's not really it's that game never ever ever gets in its own way because it's constantly like basically looking at you and saying, haha, dipshit, figure this one out.
Yeah, and I think for me the big difference between Tears of the Kingdom and a game like this is that that game the whole point of that game isn't to figure out like how to beat it. At least that doesn't want to feel like it is. Like I feel like you kind of know how to beat it. It's more of like that game has individual stints of, hey, there's different ways that you can approach this, and you need to figure it out. That's not even considering the whole like tedium and everything that like I don't like about it. Just like from a general sense of like that game is mysterious in a way of like you're kind of just like rewarded for it, or it's not designed around you need to find the solution to get to X. It's more just like it's a sandbox
Yeah.
versus a catered experience.
Yeah, that's maybe like a good way of thinking about it too, is that like in a lot of these games that we're talking about, when you have that player agency, it's like a means to an end or like a means to an objective. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, it's just like a means to light some new shit on fire for reasons you don't understand or don't need.
Yeah, I think the DNA might be way too different. Whereas like Tears of the Kingdom, in my mind, is more of like in the Bethesda space as opposed to like a leap year.
Yeah.
That do you have an answer for the question?
I do. It's a lot less interesting because it's a fence sitter position.
Go ahead.
So to describe my position, in the beginning is that my top 2 favorite games of all time are number 1, Outer Wilds, number 2, Majora's Mask. Outer Wilds is very clearly like your Metroidvania style game where you're only limited by knowledge, and then Majora's Mask is, while not Metroidvania, I still feel comfortable making the comparisons for reasons that I might get into. Is your like traditional like collect the power ups and solve puzzles with those power ups that you get. And my answer to the question is that both are good. I think a game is good when it has both. I think that La Mulana, for example, as you guys were kind of more or less like going between whether it's a Metroidvania or Metroidvania or whatever, it's kind of both because on one end you get normal power-ups, you fill up your inventory, and you solve puzzles with a lot of those power-ups, and the Metroidvania aspect comes in how you're supposed to use those power-ups, but it also has like your very standard pure knowledge gating and like the destructible walls. Like if you've played through the game and you know where all the destructible walls are, you're going to have a much better time than if you don't know where any of those walls are. Which is like a very standard, I think, Metroidvania style thing, even if it's not directly like the Witness style, figuring out logic to puzzles. But I think ages ago, Ben mentioned something, I believe, with the aspect of Metroidvanias, and I think it was Metroid Dread that colored the map, you said, with where to go? Yeah. That's definitely an aspect of the more power-up-y style games, like Hollow Knight is the example that I would draw there as well, where it is kind of just tedious to remember and like notate as you're moving through, like, oh, there was a collapsible floor here, and I need to remember where those are or take notes on them. And oh, now I have the ground pound. Okay, I can go and do those places. Sweet. It's two different feelings, I think, is the difference between them. And I don't really have a preference between them because, again, Majora's Mask and Outer Wilds are my 2 favorite games. And the Zelda camp and your more traditional Metroidvania style camp, you have that feeling of like finding a new item and it's some like combat applicability that's really fun. And you get the very, very tactile experience. Like I think of A Link to the Past's menu or La Mulana, where you're slowly filling up your inventory and you get that sense of progression and accomplishment that way. You don't get that same level of progression and accomplishment in Metroidvanias outside of just understanding things. I think that aspect of like filling out your inventory is very fulfilling in a lot of these games. And then I think it was Thomas that mentioned like one of the big limiters of Metroidvanias is just that their scope can't be that big because someone can't be expected to understand every single thing about a huge like AAA style game if it was in the Metroidvania style. So like even something like The Witness, which is a huge puzzle game, and in that Metroidvania category, even that is fundamentally limited in how it can use its puzzles. Like each puzzle section is categorized into each area, and it doesn't move too far out of that because outside of the very end of the game, you can't really mix and match them because what if they like didn't get to this tutorial area, quote unquote tutorial for like the sunlight puzzles and how they affect the diagrams there. So it's kind of limiting, but it means that if you know those things, if you have that knowledge, it makes those areas way more like you have that nice sense of realization that those games have. It was a little rambly, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. One thing I do want to clarify is that I wasn't trying to like take a side and say one was better than the other because I agree. I think doing both is I mean that's what Llama Lana does, and that's like probably gun to my head my favorite game. And one thing that I would argue actually is that while I do agree that the actual like tactile feel to filling out an inventory and like getting new toys and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, um, in my estimation is actually still fulfilled in games like Outer Wilds. It's just there isn't anything tactile. It's just all kind of in your head as like your quote unquote inventory is just like sitting in your brain basically.
Tunic is the closest thing to that feeling, I think.
Oh, that reminds me, I just installed it.
Because you just, I'm not gonna spoil, but you understand more about the thing, is what I'm saying.
Ben, I want Ben to say when he starts that game so Tom could start the stopwatch. Um, what was I gonna say? So I think something's while you guys were talking, I think I realized like I don't think there's a Metroidvania where I think it's been I call it like bad, and I don't know if that's because the formula is so interesting or if that's because like I don't really know why. Like there's not a lot of them, and like literally none of them I would say are bad experiences, and I don't know if that's a coincidence or not.
Oh wait, I don't think you ever answered the question you asked Thomas as to why Tears of the Kingdom isn't a Metroidvania, or however you worded it.
It's because the point of the game is like it's pockets of figuring things out on your own, but it's not like you can just. It's not like what's a game that we've all played that's that. I mean, Oberdin, not really, because that one's a weird example. It's not like Void Stranger, Seth, where like you can literally get to the end fucking fast if you know like how to get there, or else like the journey is just kind of there. It's not like a speed run optimization thing. Like that's why I think La Mulana isn't really a Metroidvania because it, even though there's a lot of knowledge that's required to beat the game, a lot of games have a lot of knowledge that's required to beat the game. It's more the fact of that you need to do certain, like you need to beat 8 bosses to be able to get to the ninth boss, basically. Where Void Stranger, like you just need to do like these 3 things that aren't presented to you but are always available in the game.
So here's a question for you. I have seen this game thrown around as what people consider a Metroidvania, and I'm not sure how much I agree. But I do know that you did not like this game very much, which is Chance of Sonar.
That's
That
a great game.
is not a Metroidvania.
I've definitely seen people say that
Yeah.
they consider it, which is
It's
why I get really confused on like what the definition of it is.
so yeah. There's not really a definition because like some people don't even call it that. They call it it's like some stupid like knowledge based puzzle progression game or something. Um, it's a very loose definition, and I think there's like tiers to how crazy they are in it. With like La Milana and Chance of Sonar being like entry level kind of, but not really, and almost Oberdin too, because Oberdin is like kind of the same of you need to go through everything, but then you just know all the answers, so it's like kinda.
I want to draw a weird comparison to try and suss this out of you because this has been rolling around in my head since I started answering the question.
Sure.
And I'm going to start it with an inflammatory statement. The only difference between a Metroidvania and a Zelda game, for example, I'm talking like classical Zelda games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, is where the puzzles are placed.
If you could go to Ganon's castle and kill him because you knew the path to get through Ganon's castle, and you didn't have to like kind of the biggest Metroidvania thing about La Mulana is probably one that you guys only know of and never had to experience, which is the charity kindness left eye right eye thing.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's the biggest part, and they took that out because they were like, "This is too obtuse and gay." So like,
It's unbelievable that they took that out, but they kept the mantras the same. But yeah, go on.
which
So
are like way
why
worse.
you
It's because
put,
there's
you
actual progress that gates you through the game.
did you put the Witness in the Metroidvania category?
Yes.
So why is that not one then?
Why is what not one? Why is the witness not
Or
one?
why is the Witness a Metroidvania if
Because
something like Zelda is not?
because you don't need like certain tunics and stuff to beat the game. All you need to know is how to beat the game. It's basically like the more that you know how
you have to
beat the game.
do you have to do like 4 or 6 layers.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
mean,
do stuff in that game.
I never beat the witness, so I couldn't tell you.
So here's how I've like I think I've settled on a definition that has nothing to do with like getting to the credits. Uh, I think I would define a Metroidvania as simply like as just very simply a game that forgoes any sort of upgrades via like items, gear, abilities, and is just purely what is in between your ears. And I don't know if it has to get any more like complex than that. Like they may share some like certain like exogenous characteristics like being able to just go beat the game as soon as you spawn in, but I really think that at the end of the day it's just a game that like just doesn't do anything other than say like we're not going to give you any extra tools, but we're going to give you the ability to like figure things out from here.
That would be
Then
like
what
a
do we
pure.
do?
Go ahead.
Like what do we do about games like Void Stranger and La Mulana then?
Right. That because what Tom said is basically saying like, hey, Outer Wilds made the genre and everyone spun it out because the Outer Wilds is the only one that's like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've already said, right? Lama Lana is not a Metroidvania. That game's just
I think it
just
is.
a
I think it's
straight up
level 1.
Metroidvania.
I think there's like 5 levels of Metroidvania, with Outer Wilds being 5 and Lama Lana is level 1. And Lama Lana is there with Chance the Sonar. Like, I think it's a level 1 Metroidvania.
Well, then what differentiates it from a Metroidvania? Because to me, Lama Lana is just like a very Lama Lana is just a
Puzzles.
Metroidvania with like some really obtuse bullshit puzzles.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to clarify something because I might agree with you depending on how you answer this. Like Void Stranger, there are power ups, but you get those power ups with the sigils or whatever they're called. I think in theory you could start a new save and input those sigils. Does that count as a power up, or does it count as being in the Metroidvania category?
Metroidvania.
Thomas.
Oh.
That's what I figured you would say.
Void Stranger, for the record, is a level 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because like in order to get to that point, you had to exert some level of knowledge on the game, right? So, it does give you new tools, but it doesn't give you. I don't know. That one's complicated. I can't figure that one out. I give up.
So part of the reason I'm asking is because I want to keep jumping back to why isn't Legend of Zelda the classic ones? Why aren't those Metroidvanias, especially Link to the Past? If you jump to that one,
So
because
I think
the only difference, at least with like some of the more modern games, is that a lot of the items spell out what to do with them.
Okay, for
like,
me,
like explicitly.
I would say like the big difference between Legend of Zelda and like literally every other game we've been talking about is that Legend of Zelda games, by and large, have a very linear path that you have to follow when you go from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon. Now, is it 100% linear? No, but in Ocarina of Time, you can't just go to Dodongo's Cavern to Jabu Jabu's Belly to the Deku Tree. Like you have to go Deku Tree, Dodongo's Cavern, Jabu Jabu's Belly. And I think that the big differentiator there is probably being able to just like explore a very high percentage of the world and be able to complete things within that percentage without like having to follow a more linear path. And that's speaking to like the older Zelda games, because again, I have basically no experience with anything after Majora's Mask. So
Yeah, it's interesting because like there is definitely an argument that they would be like, I would have to move everything else up level 1 and they would be level 1, and then like Lama Lana and Chances are level 2. But because then if you say there's a defined path as to why they're not, then like isn't Super Metroid a Metroidvania? Because now there is no defined path because you can literally do reverse boss order shit in that game, but it's not. Like it's a Metroidvania.
And also, like the more you suss it out in that way, the less I think the Witness is a Metroidvania, because like even discounting the like having to get the lasers to get to the tower in the center, each area is like mostly linear. Like I'm thinking of the sun puzzles in the desert, where like you literally just move from room to room to room solving them. And I don't feel like I'm comfortable not calling the Witness a Metroidvania.
I think it's definitely on the lighter level side. Because I mean, it's just like because you have to be careful because you almost get to the point of, is every puzzle game a Metroidvania when you break it down like that? Because like when you know the puzzle, then you fucking can get to the end. But it's like
like that's kind of what I'm trying to suss out.
That's the vibe
is just
that's
like,
not right.
I mean,
it's all just like understanding things.
I'm gonna keep it 100. If everything can fall under the umbrella of a Metroidvania, then it's a shitty definition that needs to get ironed out better.
I mean, it's a very loose definition, but that's kind of the point. Like, because I can tell you games that are Metroidvanias, and it goes, "Oh, that makes sense." But then if you say, "Why isn't Zelda one?" then you have to get into the weeds. But like, I can give you a definitive list of these are Metroidvanias.
I just want to interject super quick. Sorry, we've been on this question for a while. This is getting a little semantic. We can keep doing that if you guys want to, but we do only have half an hour.
Okay, final statement. Here is how forevermore I am going to differentiate Metroidvanias from Metroidbranias. And that is that In a Metroidvania, that game says you cannot go here until you get X. Whereas a Metroidvania is going to say you don't realize you can go here until you know X. And that is the definition I'm going to go with forevermore. Slam my gavel. Fuck you. Middle fingers out. Deal with it.
Then we got owned.
No, it's more, I'm trying to be respectful of moving on.
I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if there's going to be any specific definition, I think it's going to be that one.
Yeah, it's a super loose definition too. Like, it's so far away from like, here's where the line is. It's probably like the most broad like label of a game.
Do you want to start the next question, Sush?
Yeah. Where am I? Does Leap Year successfully trade length and complexity for shortness and approachability? Ben?
Yes, because I played it and enjoyed it. And that's way more than I can say for other games in the genre. And when I say
hope the-
genre, I don't mean Metroidvania, I mean like puzzles, I guess. Easy example is Blueprints.
Yeah.
I hope that the future viewers of this podcast understand just how powerful of a statement that is coming from Ben.
Did you mostly bounce off Blueprints because of that was mostly because of like the shitty controller support though,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It was less than a minute. I can't remember what I did, but it brought whatever I did. I brought up a menu, and like it would obviously would have been so easy just to like use my mouse, right? Just click on the boxes. But like I don't know, just the way that the D-pad navigated through the menu, it just seemed unnatural to me, and then I just uninstalled it immediately.
That's fair. It's funny to me that you have that opinion too, because a lot of people play the game on PS5 and like with how like
Yeah, I saw
atrocious
that.
you made
Like
it sound.
DSP
Yeah.
played it with controller, which blew my fucking mind.
A lot of people played on PS5, which seems crazy to me if it's that poorly
I might have to
implemented.
give it another try. I still have it installed. I didn't actually uninstall that. I just haven't opened it.
Well,
I
after you bounce off a tunic,
I actually do think you would like that game up to a point, and that point is like once
The
you
credits.
finish the first layer, yeah.
Yeah, I was not fair to Blueprints. I really
it's
gave
fine.
up way too early. Like I didn't even I literally didn't even learn what the first mechanic was. That's how early I alt F4.
Didn't even draft a room, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know
Yeah.
what that means.
That's literally
from
the
my-
first thing you can do.
From my point of view, all I know is that Ben opened the game, saw that the default text was the default Unity text, and then alt F4. That's
Yeah.
all I know. Which is
That's
fucking
funny.
hilarious.
Tom?
Yeah, like I said before, like one of the like bigger, not biggest limiting factors for me when I was done with this game was walking away with it wishing I had a little bit more. So I think like yes, because the game uses a like really lean design philosophy that just uses really simple core mechanics. And then the challenges emerging from how those mechanics are layered and explored. So like obviously you have no items or power up progression. It's very small in scope. It utilizes the simple mechanics that it has in like really interesting ways as far as like the physics and momentum and timing is concerned. So yeah, I mean, it definitely trades depth for simplicity successfully. And I think that's a pretty hard thing to do, actually. Like the things that the game like very clearly sacrificed, like in the narrative, the replayability to an extent, and basically having next to no player expression. Although I wrote this when I didn't realize I solved the ending in a weird way. It did so that it could jump inward into the mechanics that were already there at minute zero instead of expanding outwards. So I think that this would be really hard to do in some cases without making you feel stupid or overwhelmed or confused or whatever. But I think Leap Year actually does a really good job with it.
You're up, Seth.
While acknowledging that this is a really solid game, and I don't think it is worse off for this, I actually don't think it did. I think that this game is still pretty complex, and like the actual platforming and such is pretty straightforward. It's not difficult, but just the no jumping unless you understand the rules or whatever, I would not describe as a very approachable thing. I don't see the game as worse off for those things because I like all of those things, but I think if you were to just toss this game to a Ben who wasn't in the game club, I don't know if they would play it.
I think Ben would play it. I think there's a different point if you want to say like a
I-
non-gamer.
It's weird to say because if I wasn't in the club, I probably wouldn't have played it. But and this, I'm going to espouse the positive nature of this club where I actually have in this last Steam summer sale, I bought so many games in that like under $5 category because like this game made me realize that like I can actually enjoy these micro games. So I've just been
Hell
just
yeah.
buying all these super cheapo games that I literally never would have purchased. And if you looked at like my Steam purchasing history, like the vast majority of the games I buy are like those $70 games. And to be fair, it's the same $70 that I'm spending. I'm just Steam refunding it over and over.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a really good point. Like, because a game like this is just kind of distilling a video game down to like a very like small core constituent, and just makes it fun, right? And shit's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, I'm my answer to the question is no, but I don't think that makes the game worse off. I think it was trying to do something for a very specific set of people, and we are that set of people, and it worked.
So you're
So-
saying that it's not approachable.
I think it is neither approachable nor is it not complex.
So I guess like when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking about it because, like I said it on the outset of my answer, like I wished that there was just like a little bit more. And so there's like two things I was thinking when I thought that, which was that day 23 calendar page. Like, I wished that there were more opportunities to solve puzzles that were just like that just stacked a little extra layer of complexity on top of just like, here's the mechanic, and now you can use it, and you're done. And then I was thinking about like if the game could have found ways to like chain some of those mechanics together. Like, what if you like upside down flipped the world and then you had to like jump off somewhere and drill and like all this other shit. So I guess what I was thinking of when it was trading complexity was more so that I didn't really feel like it maximized or even came close to maximizing the amount of complexity that is actually in the game already.
In fairness, I believe you do have to do some of those combinations in the section that you didn't do.
God damn it.
Huh.
I know for sure you at least had to do an upside down into a red bounce. I don't remember. I think you had to drill too, I think.
I mean, again, a big reason I recommended this game is literally just the upside down section. So the fact that Tom skipped all that, I feel like he lost a lot of the magic that I had for this game.
I still liked it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought it was like a fine game before that, but once you flipped upside down and you had to re-navigate through it, I was like, oh, the design like got so much better because then you realize everything needed to be designed in a way that
Yeah.
works both directions.
Yeah, and I think like when I'm talking about the game being complex, I think that like that's a good example. Like when if I didn't see that message in Discord about Thomas's note about needing to go back to get the 29th day, I don't know if I would have had that thought. I don't know if I would have known what to do when I flipped upside down, and that's pretty complex.
Yeah, fair enough.
So the game is not simple, correct? But compared to a game like Void Stranger or Tunic or not Blueprints, because that game's a masterpiece in the way that it presents itself to the player, unless you're Ben. But those kind of more complex, to go back to the term Metroidvanias, I think that this game is simple. That's kind of where I was going with in the question. It's not a simple game in the grand scope of like everyone who picks up a controller is going to know how to navigate it.
Yeah, and the way that
Sure.
I mean, I definitely agree with that, but like I just want to state that like the way that I was like kind of interpreting complexity here was like again more of like I guess more of an argument of if it realizes its full potential for what the game presents. Like if it like gives you the tools that are in the game and then like makes you operate in a way that is like very complex and difficult to figure out. Whereas I felt like there were two of those in the game, I think, and 2 out of 29 or whatever is not a great batting average because I felt like the majority of them were just like run forward, grab it, jump, grab it. Here's like a tutorialized like wall painting for the new mechanic. Congrats, you learned it. Grab the shit, move on. So like again, when I was thinking of complexity, I was just imagining like a more blown out version of this game, which is I'm probably imagining the DLC, I guess is the long and short of it.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking because like I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't feel like the systems they have are simple, and I felt like there were enough puzzles in the base game to justify a certain level of complexity. And like, yeah, compared to the other Metroidvanias, it might not be complex, but I feel like that's more of a matter of the scope than it is about the systems.
Yeah, I don't think you should compare this game to something like Void Stranger or some shit. I was just comparing it to itself.
I compare it to something in the sense of Void Stranger that like it is a much more approachable game. This game is.
Oh yeah.
Which is kind of like the point of my question, like because they trade out depth and that crazy level of complexity for a short, tight, relatively approachable experience.
Yeah, and I guess that was again that was how I was defining complexity and whether or not like if adding too much of that realized potential would have like forsaken some of that like very obviously crafted approachability. And again, I mean, my answer to the question was like, no, I don't really think that it did. Like, I think it balanced things really well.
Yeah. You guys want to move on to the next question?
Yes, sir. Were the hints provided in the game, for example, the diegetic map showing the missing calendar pieces or the hieroglyphs in the walls showing the bounce mechanics, unnecessary or were they welcome?
They were 100% welcome, and I would argue necessary. At least for the latter, the like the murals and stuff, the hieroglyphs.
Do you like in the way they presented, or would you rather them be just presented in like a tutorial pop-up?
No, it was much better this way. Like this type of game thrives off the fact that it had like zero text outside of the numbers on on the dates. It would have been hurt severely if it had like the Final Fantasy 16 tutorials.
I think.
Go ahead, Seth.
Sorry, unless Thomas, do you want to go first?
No, you're fine. Go ahead. My answer's short.
I really liked how those were presented. I'm thinking, wait, did you write them down here? The map and yep, the two that you wrote down there. I love those as like La Mulana style tablets quite a bit. I did not need the map. Like I just feel like I saw all of them on my screen before I would have ever needed to use the map. But it was like a convenience, I guess. And the hieroglyphics for the bouncing, I feel like you literally could have just tossed that in like the first or second room and it would have been better. I think.
I'm so retarded. I just realized that map you're talking about. I was like, what the fuck map are you talking about? And then I realized that mural is the map. The one, because like I remember it changed.
Yeah.
And I was
Yep.
like, oh my god, that's what you guys are talking about. That was a fucking
It's your
map.
GPS.
I thought it was a puzzle solution. I was like, why are they disappearing?
That's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious.
That's only because when I first found it, there were only two left. So I was like, why?
Right.
Like, why is
Yeah.
it showing me this?
That's like what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like to your credit, by the time that I saw that, I think I only had 3 left, and then when I went back there was only 1 left, which I was like working on getting, and I was like, oh, that's what this is.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
basically
much.
like the nature of the question, though, right? Because then you could misinterpret what it's showing you.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess they kind of fucked up with that one, but all the other ones were amazing.
Yeah, I guess like to summarize my position, I like I'm glad that they're in the game for sure. I just think that they weren't put in the best spots if they wanted them to be useful.
I think that in a lot of cases they're like a little too subtle, especially the map. Because like Ben said, like it feels like a solution, and there's a lot of things that, like when I don't remember who posted the screenshot. I think it was Tom who posted like that mural, and is like, is this like a fucking puzzle or is this like lore? Because like then you kind of get lost in the sauce of like, is this important or is this nothing?
Oh yeah, I definitely thought that was going to be for a puzzle actually.
Right. And so I think that's when, um, like La Mulana does it better because you interact with a tablet and then now you know like, okay, this was either puzzle information or lore and I need to suss it out. Where this game it's like even more vague, which I think works against it a little bit.
So I would I'd push back against that somewhat, just on the basis of the fact that like La Mulana inundates you with information in the environment and everywhere else. Like there's always the possibility that while you're running around in what's the fucking back door or front door for the endless corridor?
Endless
Can't remember.
corridor.
Dimensional.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. You're talking about the back door, dimensional corridor.
yeah, there's always like the possibility of when you're running around in there and like you see some like far off bullshit in the distance that like in the back of your mind when you're playing that game, you're always thinking like there's something back here that I could scan or look at that could be like a part of a solution. So like that game pre-programs you into like being very meticulous with how you pay attention to everything in the environment. Whereas with this game, when it threw this like one thing at me that didn't have fuck to do with shit, it was just kind of annoying to me,
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean that's basically what I'm saying. Like because they put useless information in the background, when you also put the map with like, hey, if you get stuck, here's where you should go on a specific screen that's not clear, that's what it's telling you. I think that that's not great.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I thought you were saying the opposite, but yeah,
No,
100% agreed.
I think it's nice to put like the hints of like, hey, here's where you bounce in case you haven't figured it out by now yet is like a nice thing. But I think something as integral as like, here's where your next progression could be behind a map, and like the map is kind of like not obvious that it is a map, like source material Ben, like where it's like, I think that was kind of like a little bit of a miss. It's like one of the only misses I think the game has.
Yeah.
And a game that
Well,
otherwise tells the player how to play it very well through playing it. Which,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's just like a weird clash.
Yeah, and I mean the game's short enough that it's not like if the game
Right.
was long, it would obviously be
Oh
very
yeah,
frustrating, but yeah.
for sure.
Great idea, not the best execution.
Well, I guess I'll provide my answer here real quick. So, um, I think to some extent I can piggyback off of like the previous answer to this, where I was saying that games that utilize player agency poorly are when they don't offer you any like good tools um, to learn or like feel really arbitrary or obscure. So this game did a really good job of like abjectly avoiding that. But with that in mind, I did not need a single hint in this game, um, outside of maybe the very first one that illustrates the fucking bouncy bounce. But at the same time, I'm also not everyone, and so I think having those clues or hints is like really important to having a clearly defined like methodology behind how you're gonna present like agency to the player.
There was actually, now that I'm thinking about it, one other good hint. The one to get like above the gear room or whatever. I don't know if you know where I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the exact hint. But I feel like I
Oh,
know.
It shows the like laces
yeah.
between the buttons or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good shout. I actually did like need that one or use it anyway.
Yeah, I wish there were a couple more things like that because that one
Yeah,
was like the definition of a Metroidvania style thing.
exactly.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, my biggest criticism of this game is that I wanted more, and I wanted like a little bit of extra complexity in the like puzzling. Not too much, just a dash.
I think that's fair.
Do you have anything you wanted to say, Sesh, or do you want to move towards?
No, I'm good. We can go to awards.
Oh, I forgot to answer these. This is gonna be off the cuff.
Oh yeah, same.
I mean, that's fine. I posted them hella late, and it's just kind of like as an addition. So even if you don't have an
Oh,
answer, that's fine.
actually, at least I have an answer to the first one, the best aha moment.
All right, hit us.
Literally the first time I jumped. Like
Yeah,
that's all. That's all you really have to say.
I think the game does a great job of that. Literally being the first, like, oh, this is how we're gonna play this kind of thing. Like it sets the stage like perfectly.
Yep, 100% agreed on that front.
Mine was
Go ahead, Seth.
sorry, go ahead. Mine was probably the first time you're supposed to get blue. I thought that was very memorable.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's flipping upside down. Clearly, I thought that part was fucking
Oh,
awesome.
damn! I guess there are so many
Yeah,
aha
that is a
moments.
good
Like
moment.
literally the first time I bounced was like
Yep.
it was like, oh, there's like I just like leveled up.
I don't. I think there's no wrong answers, and I think this game does that aha puzzle moment really fucking well because like you have to experience them, and it basically holds your hand to do them.
Yeah,
It's
like
also
I actually think
sorry.
it's crazy that my answer to this is like totally different from your guys's because I honestly thought we were all going to say the same thing. So this is crazy.
I
I think
feel
the game
like
is also really good at hiding the aha moments until you're supposed to understand them. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
there's a section where you're falling. It's after you get the hint on the wall for the laces I was talking about. You're falling and you would turn purple, but there's a guy there, so you don't actually bounce.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the answer for me to this award is getting or figuring out how to get calendar 23. So if you go into the text channel and you see the screenshot I posted, like the reason why I was able to figure out that I could do what I did there is because I spent so much fucking time in that room trying to figure out how the fuck to get to that calendar. And then at some point, I jumped into the room above and I saw the people there and I was like, oh, these motherfuckers. Uh, and like the way that you had to do it, like squashing the dudes and then going up without like dying or whatever, was that was definitely it for me. I really liked that one.
Next one is biggest you can't do that, you idiot moment.
there's so many of those, but the problem is like there's just so many of those, and I can't remember a specific one. It was kind of like the whole game
Yep.
for me.
I mean, my answer is basically like the first 10 minutes of where you're constantly like, jump, ah, fuck. Basically what Seth said too earlier of like you just walk around and you're jumping, and then as you jump, you're like, oh fuck, I'm about to die.
Yeah,
Mine
for me
was
it's
good.
for me it was as soon as I learned about the drill mechanic and I just tried to use the drill like literally everywhere and it either did fuck all or killed me.
Yeah, kind of similarly, mine was in that room I was talking about earlier where I tried to like. I wish I took a snip of it, but there's like the section of the wall missing, and you can like keep your momentum falling downwards, but I don't think you can do jack shit there. Also, I think I tried to do that same jump that Thomas did, where he sequence broke the game, but I didn't do it good enough. So
It
I
was
guess
actually really hard. Like I would challenge you guys to actually go in the game and try and do it because it was actually not easy. It took me a few tries.
um I guess as a follow-up question to that then, do you think it's a bummer that the game didn't reward that creativity?
No, because it
Oh,
did in several places.
but it never always did.
It didn't always do it, but it did enough times that I felt sated.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is because Void Stranger is a game where basically anything that you could think of to do in that game, they have a response case for it. So one example is like if you try to save scum, you go to fucking court. Like when you open the game from save scumming, then you'll be in court for save scumming. So like that game basically has use cases for everything.
God,
And
I
I think
feel
that that's fucking awesome.
I feel like I have to watch like a YouTube video or something of like the end of that game because I don't know how far I was through it, but if I had to guess, I was probably like 85 or 90% of the way through it. Like I
I
was
think you
really
were more
far.
like halfway, and you did one of the end game puzzles like 15 hours before you should have.
I think I was much farther than you think. I was playing that game at work like a fuckload.
Well, before we should talk about that later. Do we want
Yeah,
to wrap up
sorry.
and give our ratings? I mean,
Sure.
I want to talk about Void Changer, but
Ben, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I would give it an 8.75 out of 10. It was a pleasant surprise. It introduced me to a genre that I like. I've always seen these games on like the storefronts, right? Like on Steam, and I would just glaze over them. But now I pay a little bit more attention, and it is thanks to this game. So I give it that rating, 8.75.
That's awesome.
it changed
Mom?
Ben's life.
So when I was like thinking about like my rating for this game, I had like a weird way of doing it where um I didn't want to recontextualize it too much, but I did want to like try and be fair to like my personal expectations. So I imagined it as like if they had blown this game up into like a full scale like production thing. Um like how would I have felt about it if it was more than just a game jam game? And honestly, I think I would have liked it like a lot. Like I like it for what it is, but I think if they had blown it up into an actual like big game, I would have liked it even more. So for me, I think it's probably an 8.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, I have similar reasoning. I'm a little bit lower, I think, for some of the reasons that I explained. I'm only a 7 out of 10, but I could easily see. Um, let me back up. With a lot of puzzle games that I play, The Witness is a good example where like it takes a concept and it just uses that concept in as many ways as humanly possible to like use the mechanic to its fullest. I it's like one of my favorite thing when you can tell that a puzzle game is doing that. I don't feel like this game entirely did that, and that was out of intention. So I'm not going to knock it for it, and I'm going to keep it at the 7 out of 10. But I feel like this had the potential to be like a 9 out of 10 if it was a bigger scope.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that in some aspects, but also like sometimes I think puzzle games do the opposite too much, and where there's too many puzzles and they explore mechanics too much, and then that like makes you basically like bounce off the game. So I think I prefer the underdeveloped rather than overdeveloped style game. Um, for me personally, I think so. I think it's a great game, and I like it a lot, and I would recommend it to basically anyone who likes either puzzle games or especially if you like puzzle platformers. But I don't think it's ever going to be on someone's like this is my favorite, even like top like 20 favorite games of all time, just because of
No,
how
absolutely not.
limited everything is. So it's like in a weird space of like it can never to me it can never be higher than like an 8 because of that, but it's also like really good. So yeah, like it's an
Yeah.
8 for me. But it's like a
Yeah.
weird
Yeah,
8.
yeah,
It's got a ceiling, but it's like very tight
Yeah.
and well crafted for sure.
Yeah.
yeah. Like when I give my rating, I'm like it's strange, but like I guess when I think about ratings, I think about them like independent of like any other game. It's just how I feel about
Sure.
the one game. And like it's Leap Year in particular is it's like a special kind of game where like I have no evidence or even reason to believe this, but I feel like I could like recommend this game to a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think kids would love this game.
Yeah, and it's weird to say 'cause the game's actually pretty fucking hard.
Yeah. But I mean, kids are probably like the best people to recommend this to
Yeah.
because they wouldn't bounce off it at all. They would be like, "Holy shit, this is fucking awesome!" And then they're done with it before they're bored of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say though, like that's why I rated it the way I did, where I like imagined if they had blown the game up, because like you were saying, Jordan, I think a lot of puzzle games can like very easily wear out their welcome, but I feel like this game like barely walked through the door.
Yeah,
So but it was extremely on purpose, so I
yeah.
didn't want to like hold that against it.
No, I'm with you. And again, I like in what I said, I would rather you not walk through the door than you like make a mansion out of it. Because if I don't like that mansion, I'm out after 2 rooms.
Yeah,
But
for
See, and
sure.
if there's only 2 rooms, I can't be out early.
I'm over here as someone that did almost all of the like regular puzzles and Islands of Insight, so I can't say I'm on the same side.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn, that's
I love those
autistic.
games. Again, like Tactical Nexus is one of my favorite games, or is probably just my favorite game. Void Stranger is one of my favorite games. Like I love the deep scope ones, but it just if you're gonna do a deep scope, you better be really good at doing it.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't know. Sometimes they're just very popcorny to me. Like it's
Sure.
just a little bit of brain activity, and you get a little bit of serotonin. And if it's a fun concept, like the Islands of Insight puzzles were, for example, then I'm not gonna say no.
I think you have to try Dr. Kabushi's Labyrinthine Laboratory and tell me if you like that game.
I did love Island of Seen Sky. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I mean that game is a
Yeah.
fucking kiddie pool compared to
That game was
fucking
great.
Dr. Kabushi's Labyrinthine Laboratory.
Did you ever play Taiji, Seth?
Oh yeah, I love that game. That was one of the few puzzle games where I don't think I need to look up a single thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that game's great. I need to play it more. I barely scratched it.
It's definitely an attempt at a Witness clone, and it's pretty good at it. We already kind of did this in our text channels
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. We already know Ben is picking. Ben is picking for this coming week. Ben, do you just want to officially say in a fancy voice the game you've chosen?
Yeah, sure. I picked Torment Tides of Numenera. I'm not sure if we're doing an intermezzo week or not.
Yeah, we are. And what are we doing for that? I don't remember. I know it's Toho 15, but I don't remember what the fucking name is.
So I was actually thinking about that, and I don't know if that is a good game to choose because there's a lot that I didn't say about it. It's actually pretty fucking difficult. Like because of the way that it's balanced around having the checkpoints, so it's actually the hardest one in the series. Like if we're talking about it mechanically. So that's why I actually found another game if you guys would are interested. That's kind of actually in the same vein as Leap Year.
Sure. It's your choice, so yeah.
Okay, in that case, so the game that I chose was Torment Tides of Numenera, and the meeting for that will be on the 21st. But for the 14th, I pasted the link in Discord. It's a game called Life Lessons, and I just remembered this game. I bought this game after I spoke to the creator of it on Reddit. It was just like a random Reddit thread, and he just requested feedback, and then I bought it and I played a little bit, but I never like because it's a micro game. I never really gave it a legitimate chance, but now I feel like I owe it to the guy, and also it's 99 cents. You could still pirate it if you want to. I don't even know if you can pirate it. Like I don't even know if someone even like went through the legwork
Nah.
of making this piratable, but it's 99 cents.
I love the idea of this guy just suddenly seeing 4 people buy this game all at once and being like,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too.
This is the
Remember,
only
Ben.
game. Go ahead, Seth.
You better be being paid. No free ads.
This is the only game I have ever seen and ever looked up that does not have a how long to beat entry.
Oh my god.
that's hilarious.
I'm gonna